Hey guys, Tarious here, and today I'm going to be doing another Tarious Rant featuring Spacebase DF-9, which if you have been following this game, you know exactly what this rant's going to be about. So basically, this game was supposed to be like Dwarf Fortress in space. We were promised all this stuff, and if you haven't been listening to the news on it or following or whatever, they basically released 1.0 and the game is probably has like maybe 25% of the stuff promised, and there ain't a whole lot to do. As you'll see in this footage I got recorded running in the background, this is pretty much the whole game, and you get tired of it after maybe 40 minutes because everything's so bare bones. I recorded about 20 minutes of footage. I don't know how long this rant's gonna go on for, but for the most part you're gonna be seeing a lot of building. As you can see here, I'm just using it on normal speed, so that's where the 20 minutes comes from. It's mostly just building, and then due to poor game balance, I basically get killed by a parasitic centipede at about 20 minutes. Yeah, I've been playing the game for 20 minutes and I get killed. That's such logic, and I'm gonna definitely put that in this video. So, for those of you that haven't been following along with the whole situation, basically, like I've already said, they promised a whole bunch of stuff and they didn't deliver. The updates for this game have been coming out extremely slowly. I mean, like most early access games, you'll see them come out once a month, and if they don't release it once a month, then at the very least they'll release an update on what's going on with the development team, or hey, here's your preview of some features. But they didn't even do that with this. They'd release an update maybe every 3 or 4 months if you were lucky, and they'd come out and say, oh, we're going to be more transparent, and they never were. And then they said, hey, we're done. After the next patch, that's it. That's going to be 1.0. We're not going to touch the game anymore. This is all the features you're going to get. The modding community can take it from there. And if you bought this game due to the promises we gave earlier, too bad. Deal with it. And now time for my favorite part of the story. Their whole plan to fund this game was based on their early access sales, and like I've already said, you get maybe 40 minutes of gameplay in even this finished game. But if you're in a beta and you're getting less than 40 minutes of gameplay, yeah, people aren't going to buy your game. And of course it started a whole shitstorm on the Steam forums, on Double Fine's actual forums, and a couple of gaming media sites covering it, but I think we all know how reliable gaming media sites are nowadays. So before I continue the story, I want you to watch the clip going on, because this is going to show you how incomplete this game is. There's basically only one type of reactor, one type of research station, one type of bed right here, one type of garden. Yeah, so they had all this stuff planned and they never delivered. So all the objects in there are just so bare bones. I think the pub has the most, and it's like I think like half of its signs, and by most I mean 8. You know, if most of the sections only have like one object that you can put in them, like how's that gonna keep people interested in the game? Although you can use the research station scientists to research brand new items, which have better effects to them, this kind of stuff is locked away till later in the game. And like I said before, after about 40 minutes you get tired of this game and don't want anything to do with it anymore. So back to the main story at hand. So basically Tim Schafer pulled the plug on the whole project, and the main developer behind the whole thing, JD, stood behind him. And of course people were pissed, like I've already said, and all these quotes came out about Tim Schafer, how he never finishes his projects on time. There's quotes from Bobby Kotick, and basically what had to happen with the whole Broken Age Kickstarter. So time for the whole meat and potatoes of the whole rant. As you'll see in the video here coming up, you're going to see poor pathfinding, where these astronaut builder guys basically go outside and they come back just to build a square they were standing right next to. But the whole rant is that this whole thing has been a misuse of customer trust. Basically, everyone, including myself, bought into the idea that, hey, this is Double Fine. They're a big company, so they're going to have no problems funding and completely finishing this game and give us everything we hope for. And surprise, surprise, everyone got the rug pulled out from beneath them. And we get this unfinished product with Double Fine telling us that the game's not going to be finished to what they had originally promised, and basically modders are going to have to finish the game for them. This whole thing has made early access look like it's untrustworthy, that if you invest in an early access game you're going to get ripped off like this. And that's simply not true. I know there's quite a few early access games that I own that have been running a good model, such as Kinshi's a good one, Prison Architect, and War for the Overworld, I think it is. It's basically a dungeon keeper type game. I can guarantee you there's plenty more that I didn't name, but that's because I can't think of them off the top of my head. But what the point I'm getting at is that although people have lost trust in early access, it's not something that should be completely abandoned. Honestly, I think that if you're going to be buying an early access game, especially after this, and if anyone remembers Earth 2166, they need to look into how development's going on the project, how often it's updated, is the developer being transparent on what they're doing, are they staying up to date with the community, just basic stuff. Another good avenue I'd actually recommend is looking at the Steam user reviews, because if you look at Spacebase DF-9's user reviews right now, they're not so great, so you should clearly stay away from it. And of course, because of the whole fallout of this thing, I'd actually recommend boycotting or at least staying away from Double Fine games due to this whole ordeal. Now, I used to be the most avid Tim Schafer fan ever. Maniac Mansion Day of the Tentacle is actually my favorite game. Psychonauts is a classic, and my Steam user page has a Psychonauts background, but after this whole thing, I think it was just a whole shady business practice, and you should kind of buyer beware. And now that all that stuff's taken care of, I just want to mention just some problems with this game in general. I mean, I've already mentioned you're probably going to get like 40 minutes of gameplay out of this before you get bored and realize that there's not a whole lot to do. Okay, let's see here. You're going to be seeing it pretty soon in the video, but this game is not very user friendly if you don't know what you're doing. There's a tutorial, but the tutorial is so poorly put together it's not even funny. Like right here on the base, I'm setting up an airlock right now, and if you didn't notice earlier in the video, I couldn't place these objects like the space locker and these doors before the building was built. In most games, you can at least place them whenever you're building something, and then whenever the building gets built, then the object gets placed in there last. But nope, not on this one. You got wait till the building's built, and then you gotta place the object. Then, of course, there's the whole oxygen mechanic here at the beginning. If you haven't noticed, I'm watching over the astronauts trying to get this oxygen up and going as fast as possible, because you got 8 minutes before you suffocate and get game over at the very start. So you gotta get an airlock going, you gotta get these oxygens going, and if you run out of resources before you get all those going, and before you get the refinery up, then you're screwed. You'll notice that here in a couple minutes, where I get I build these 3 oxygen canisters so I can get a population going, and then I don't have enough money to build a refinery, and you need a refinery in order to get matter so you can build buildings. And if you haven't noticed by now, it's kind of a clusterfuck. And another notorious thing this game is the bugs. As soon as it was announced that they were going to discontinue support on this game and release the 1.0 version in a month, even though there were numerous unfixed bugs. Everyone was expecting it. They were going to release a buggy version, which they did. I've seen on the forums where people have been complaining about people not using their beds, people staying in the air lock and getting killed because they suffocate, people not eating, just general stuff that you think they would have ironed out before they decide to release the project, which they didn't, clearly. While many of you would like to see me have to sit there screw around with the oxygen and start selling lockers and stuff in order to be able to build a refinery, which, like I've already said, is a terrible gameplay mechanic, I'm going to cut to essentially what happened to this base after about 20 minutes of gameplay to show you how ridiculously unbalanced this stuff is. So here we are after about 5 minutes of cut footage. I got the locker sold and 2 of the oxygen canisters, and I'm getting ready to get my refinery up. And if you're watching the guy right next to the door that has to be built, he's about to have an unfortunate accident where a giant bug, and not the bugs the developers left in this game, comes out and starts attacking my guys. Before I have even time to react, he's already taken down 3 of my guys, and in a panic, I go and accidentally set everything to scientists, to security, and whenever all the people are sitting there fighting the thing, well, did you just see that guy just got up and fell back down? But as you're seeing here, as people are fighting it, they're not even chipping off its health. They're they're just dying left and right. It's kind of humor. It's humorous that I could lose to such a thing, and it's sad that this kind of unbalanced crap was left into the game. There, another guy just got up and fell down immediately. But basically 20 minutes of gameplay, something I had no control over, came, wiped out my base. Now I'm screwed. If you look over at the text, like, oh, your base has been wiped out, so would you like to continue? You gotta go and click on new base. And due to the amazing logic, you don't have to click on new base and start a new game. As you'll see in a minute, some people come like, oh, I want to join you. So I let them join, set them to security. They go into the air locker, fight the bug, and get killed just by punching them. And the bug's health goes from healthy to scuffed up, which is pretty much, I've only lost a couple HP. Then I wait some more, and another group arrives. They want to join. This time they bring phasers and just 2-shot the thing. I don't know how they got phasers, but I can tell you the other guys didn't have phasers. So broken mess. Here, I'll skip to it. So here's the first wave of my new guys. First thing I do is set them over to security, and I kind of realized at that point I set the other guys as scientists, but even still they should have been able to at least fight back. Then set to lethal force, and they go and start punching him. Well, not they, just the one guy, but those 2 get in a fight, and as you'll see, this whole thing leads to the new guy dying, and the bug barely being hurt, and the guy getting up and falling down again like everyone else. So I'm going to skip to show you what does happen. And here's when the second wave of new arrivals arrives. See, they're just going to open that door and 2-shot the thing. They're dead. Why didn't anyone else do that? I don't know, but that's just a balancing mess right there. At this point I just said fuck it and gave up and closed the game and uninstalled. I don't feel like doing with any of this. So like I've said, just be careful when you purchase early access games. Make sure that they're coming from reputable developers, that the developers are keeping everyone in the loop, putting out regular updates. And vote with your wallets. Thank you for listening to another Tarious Rant.